There's two programs that essentially create these kind of agents. You've got Monarch and Kruger who both do it, right? And essentially, depending upon whether you weaponize it or not determines which program it kind of goes into and the level to which it goes, right? So Monarch does have some weaponized programs, but not to the extent that Kruger does. I mean, Kruger's designed primarily as a military corporation, right? They're a mercenary corps. So I would say that if somebody was claiming to be Kruger, I would question that because they could have been prior Kruger and they're working as freelance or they're working through Monarch to do this. And it would make sense if Monarch did that because they actually do a lot of stuff with Hollywood, big pharma, these big businesses, a lot of these billionaires and business elite people. They offer them what they call, what was that phrase that came up during one of our sessions, the infinity package or whatever it was. Yeah. There's this package that they're offering, like Hollywood, these elites, they're calling the infinity package, which basically means the
life everlasting.
Yeah, life everlasting package or something, where basically they can opt to have a clone given to them every so many years, and they always have a brand new body to step into, and they transfer them, and they never die. And that money you're talking about, I would place a bet, is going toward the creation of those new clones or that new whatever technology is coming out. That'd be my bet.
I was going to say, unless there was some leader who is tasking this person to do that, like in some offshoot mission.
I can't imagine Gabriel doing that.
I can't either.
Gabriel's every time I've interfaced him, he's a very straight shooter. There are corporations out there in the world, and I can name off at least two of them right now, who use time technology to help elites, help certain billionaires and others not only make money, but move resources off planet, off world to other locations. So for example, Monarch is one of them. Again, they have this, what we call it, was the program called? The
Life Everlasting.
Life Everlasting, or the Infinite Life program. We have that going on. And by the way, a good example of that is when you look at some of these performers on stage and you notice they have these weird kind of like kinetic breakdowns where the body actually goes into convulsions. That's actually the clone failing in front of fans. Now, in terms of the other corporation, that's Mobius. They do a lot of like creating pocket universes, pocket dimensions, new timelines. And a lot of it is screwing things up because we're having these time foldbacks and time collapses, and we wonder why is all this chaos happening? Well, quit dicking with the timeline. So if we were to take Hillary Clinton, execute her, capital punishment like hanging, shooting, beheading, whatever, would that be enough? And my question is, once they verify it's the real Hillary Clinton, sure. I'd have them check the thumbprint to make sure it's the real Hillary Clinton, no clones. If it was a real Hillary Clinton, sure. If it's a clone, no. With cloning, there are certain like biomarkers that actually identify whether a body is cloned or not. When you look in this inner swirl section of the thumb, if you look at it under a microscope, I've seen a couple of thumbprints where people were like, well, my thumbprint's normal, and then they blow it up, and here's like this little like string of digits on there. And that tells somebody immediately that the body you're in has been cloned at some point because they couldn't probably recover the original, which is weird to say that, but it is the truth. Secondly, and more importantly, that also tells you that if that person isn't a cloned body, that they're probably in the programs or used by the programs in some level. So
we know, like soft disclosure, like the Fringe or Fringe.
Mm-hmm.
There was a company like Massive Dynamics.
Yep.
Okay, so after a person dies, though, they can still extract their consciousness, even if it's the original person.
And they can rehome too.
Right. So say they rehome, they extract the consciousness. So say it's Hillary Clinton, somebody like Hillary Clinton, or an elite. They extract the consciousness, then what? Because you want to make sure that it's not going into any other clone or any other project.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's the problem with this, is that the way technology has progressed is that you basically have a genetic / psyche free-for-all. Now, what I would say is this. If you check somebody with what they call an Orion's Cube device, and you were to crack the soul open, and look forward to see what the progression of that soul is, you could find out whether or not that soul terminates in this lifetime or not at this exact instance.
You would have to do a checks and balances like that.
That's the only way I know of to do it, because that temporally tells you, temporal signature-wise, the soul ends exactly at this place in time. So the Orion's Cube device was originally developed by ETs, and it was handed to certain agencies here on Earth if they complied with the ET treaty. Now, what that means is this. So if you were to look at an Orion's Cube device, right, you can spin, just like a cubic, they call it the Rubik's Cube, you can spin that in certain ways, right? So with that particular device, they actually said certain sides of this cube are actually off limits. Now, why would they say that, right? The reason why they gave us this device was to be able to look all the way through an asset's past, all the way through an asset's future on a single individual layer, because that device can also look at an entire family, an entire species, an entire planet. And what they didn't want people doing was actually knowing that they can actually look at an entire species and see certain, what we call large-scale outcomes. The ET said, we don't allow this by treaty for any species, but it does have the capability of being done.
What I see going on in the disclosure community in the future is unity. I feel like people are going to find a lot of information. I think that a lot of people are going to wake up. I think people are going to want to do something about a lot of these programs. I think they're going to be writing to congressmen and women and say, hey, this is out here. This evidence is out here as well. We know this is going on. What are you going to do to stop it? I think they're going to demand things be done. So I think there's going to be action taken. And I think that this movement is just going to grow larger and larger until, the trauma can decline, stop. So I think there are good things in the works for the future of the disclosure community. I just feel like there's positive things.
What do I see as the future of the disclosure community? The first thing that I see is you have two sides to this coin, right? You have one side, people who've never been in. They're actually coming in, listening with an open mind. They're holding space, and they're also helping to facilitate those of us who have been in. They're giving us the space to which to explain to them what we've been through, and also how we course correct what's going on. The other side of this is that I think there's also this shift happening that I feel. When I first came out with disclosure, I felt that the disclosure community was highly broken. It was very, very cliquey, very segmented. I think some of that's going away because, some of the people who used to talk in the disclosure community are no longer doing that. But I also think there's a difference in mindset. People are starting, as we said in our talk earlier, we're getting past the drama and working through the trauma. That's the motto that Jody and I kind of work through. It's our mainstay. And I think some other people have finally gotten that down. We're seeing that. And when Jody mentioned unity, I think that is true, because I think that is the one thing people can coalesce around. They're all saying, you know what, yeah, I've got some trauma too, and yeah, I need to work through that myself. And you know what, it's okay if we all maybe have a difference of opinion about how we got the trauma, but we know we have it, and if we're working together on fixing it, then maybe there's some overlap in what we're both seeing and feeling, and let's come together on what we all agree on, right? Let's come together upon what is the common stuff that we do believe in. And I think we're starting to see a lot of that happening now in the disclosure community, which I think is very positive. Okay, so if you want to follow us, which we hope you do, my wife and I, we both hope that you guys want to listen to us. First off, you can look up Services with Jody and Will. It's our Facebook page. We also have a discussion group called Services with Jody and Will discussion group as well. We hope that you would like, follow, and get in on that. Make sure you answer the questions, please. Secondly, and more importantly, we do have our business page. It's jodyandwill.square.site. So you can go to that.
For all of our services.
It's all of our services. Also, too, I think listed on, we have our phone number listed on there too, right?
Yep.
So, and also too, if you go to our business page on Facebook, we do have our phone number. We do have our joint email listed on there. That actually goes to Jody and I both. So if you have questions that you want to direct to us, we absolutely respond, and you can definitely reach out to us that way.
Just for the purposes of just saying it, though, it's 385-501-4188. That's our phone number, our business line. And then our email is jodi11andwill3@gmail.com.
Yeah.
So that's jodi11andwill3@gmail.com.
Yeah, and we appreciate all of our clients that have worked with us in the past. We appreciate you guys for listening to our video and listening to what we have to say. James, we appreciate you giving us a few minutes of your time to do this. And we really hope that going forward our community does heal. So
we actually in the future are thinking about working on a book.
we do have some ideas. Jody's got some book ideas. I have some as well. We haven't formulated that plan yet, although we may have just met a guy who's potentially our editor.
He wants to be our editor.
So
and then we are working with a couple people on some productions for film and documentaries. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Denn je. Im absoluten Luxussegment verbindet Rolls-Royce Tradition und Moderne. Jüngster Beweis ist der Brace. Auch der